About time for a new way. See the writing on the wall. And I've been in the work. Tuck the seeds to the wind so that we can move forward. See what the world needs now. A bit more than a love song. All the hate ain't got us nowhere. New slaves wandering through the fall. When it's all said and done, we that move with sound. Wait and stand in your truth. Still your eye or bound. In that moment arise. Lose the shackles from your mind. Choose your vibration. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to That's So Calysōl. I am your host, Calysōl. I hope everybody out there has been having a good week, a good beginning to your fall. Today, we're going to talk about that pantry because I know everybody's getting ready to hunker down for the fall season and for winter. And a lot of times we end up getting to the crux of winter and then we're like, oh no, there's not this in the store, there's not that in the store. And then you end up trying to scurry for the things that you need. So today we're going to talk about your pantry. And when I say pantry, I'm talking about like all of the pantry, not just your dry stuff, but I am talking about your closet pantry, your cabinet stock, your freezer stock, your deep freezer stock, and your snack stash. Everybody try to say that 5 times real fast. Snack stash, snack stash, snack stash, snack stash, snack stash, snack stash. I did it. Snack stash. Yeah. Because the parents, I know y'all be having snack stashes. My mama always had a snack stash. That's the stash you got to hide away from the children, because if they go in the pantry closet or in the cabinets and they see the stuff there in their faces, they're going to be all up in it, right? I seen this back of this little girl, and her mother must have knew that she was up to no good because she called her and she's like, Satiri. Satiri come peeping around the corner. Yes, mommy. She like, what you doing? Oh, nothing, mommy. Mommy, I'm being good. And she had like the little bag behind her back. So her mom's like, what you got behind your back? She's like, oh, nothing. And she was like, come here. So before the little girl went to her mom, she goes out of the room and puts down whatever she has and then comes back in empty handed. And her mom's like, come here. She's like, what'd you do with what you had in your hand? And she's like, I don't have nothing in my hands, mommy. And then her mom gets up out the bed and goes and looks, and she had hid the chips around the corner because she already knew she was in trouble. She was up in that snack pantry getting it. What's up, Charles? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Everybody, before we get started, please go to the Feel Good Talk Facebook page and the YouTube and give us a like, subscribe to it so you can always know what's going on, stay up to date on all of the shows that are coming out. So, again, like I said, we're going to talk today about the pantry. So, when you're thinking about your pantry, again, we're talking about your cabinet, your freezer, your deep freezer, and your walk-in closet pantry, right? And some folks have a little bit more meager space. They don't have a walk-in closet or walk-in pantry. Your cabinets are still your pantry. So the first thing that you want to do to see what's going on and what you're working with is take inventory. I took inventory of my pantry the other day and it was hilarious. I have like 6 cans of tomato soup up in there. I was like, what am I do with all this tomato soup? And when did I gather it? Well, I must have been getting like a can here and a can there, right? And then the next thing you know, we got 6 cans of tomato soup in the pantry. So what you want to do again is take stock of your pantry and see what all is in there. And that way you can figure out what you're working with. And sometimes we need to clean those things out too. A lot of our cans, they say non-perishable or whatever, but they have dates on them, and you can get rid of those, um, in a loving way is to donate them. There's a lot of food banks around town that will actually utilize those cans. They'll wash the tops and put them in Thanksgiving baskets and Christmas baskets and all of that stuff for folks. So that's really cool. And then you also got to get rid of the stuff that like is partially opened or whatever. It might be cabinet rot. A lot of people end up with them little weevils in your dry goods, and how you can keep the weevils away is bay leaves. A lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people do. All my old school heads out there, they know what I'm talking about. You put some bay leaves in the cabinet and it keeps those little weevils and critters away. And you don't need to grind up the leaf or nothing like that. You just take a whole bay leaf and put it in the back of your cabinet. Or like if you have a dry good that's already open, like rice, your sugar. I've seen people put it in their flour. Love to play in cornmeal, and weevils when you see them because they look like little worms. You see their little webs. It's like they form a silk web in the stuff. And then your food ain't no good, right? So what's the good of saving up all this pantry stuff if by the time you get to eat it, you got weevils in it? Don't nobody want to eat no worms. That ain't cute. That ain't cool. And as you're cleaning out your pantry and you see what you got in there, sometimes you might want to make a list of what you have so that you can also, when you're brainstorming of what you like to eat during the winter, then you can think of all the things that go into those dishes. Now, fall and winter time is like our comfort food time, comfort food season, right? So, soups, your pastas and casseroles and stuff like that, your crock pot recipes. Like we about to get into that season when it comes to fall and winter. So when you think of all of those things that you like to make and all of those things that you like to eat for the winter time and on into the spring, fall, winter, and a little bit of spring, you want to think about those recipes and what all it takes to make them. And then you start building your pantry accordingly. And once you've made that space and cleaned out your pantry, then you can make room for what you need. Because sometimes you'll look in your pantry or in your cabinets and you're like, when did I buy this? You catch you while you're in the store and you see a sale on something and it's like, oh, such and such stroganoff, and you grab it, and before you know it, it done set in your cabinet like 2, 3 years, and it's like, hmm, don't need that no more. So make sure you're grabbing things that you actually need. Now, it seems a little bit early to be talking about this, but I just want to safeguard you because there's been a lot of stories out there and reports that the we won't say the name, but there are some government agencies that have paid farmers to kill their whole crops. So you've seen like a few YouTube videos and newscasts of farmers taking down their whole crop. Now what happened is they paid them farmers more money than what the farmers would have made going through crop season and harvesting. So some of them did it, some of them didn't. But there are food shortages about to come. And what happens is our growing season, we're usually growing stuff in the spring for the stuff that will hit the shelves in the winter. And people don't realize that. So a lot of times when people were saying that food shortages were coming up, nobody really believed it because it was spring and summer and the shelves were full. It's like, oh, we can go in the store and grab this and this and that quickly, and it's readily available, right? Well, I've been starting to get those calls from my girlfriends. They're like, yeah, so I went in the store the other day and the produce section looked a bit bare. And it's like, yeah, that's because all of the crops that were being grown that were destroyed, or where the farmers didn't have enough money to feed or fertilize systems and bills went up, like they weren't able to produce those crops. So that's why we're going to see the shortages starting to come in the months to come and thereafter. So what you want to do now is really think about things that stretch for the family. What can we use a little bit of and mix it with something that is abundant so that we can really feed folk. So in your dry pantry, you want to have things like bay leaves. Like I said, the bay leaves are a staple because if you got dry stuff in your pantry and you saving it up for a few seasons, those dry weevils will come and try to, make their little home and their little nest in your dry goods. So you want to have those bay leaves and don't just have you can go to Trader Joe's, matter of fact. Trader Joe's has bay leaves. Every supermarket pretty much has bay leaves, but you need them in full and you take them out of the pack and lay them in the back of the cabinet. It doesn't have to be a lot of them. You can lay like on each shelf in the back, up under your jars or up under your bags, and they'll be just fine. You want to make sure you have water. Like I said, right now you can go in the store and water is probably an abundant thing, right? But as the fall and the winter start to hit more, you're going to see those things disappear off the shelves. And you don't have to go crazy and think doomsday, right? Pantry stock. Now is the time available. So now is the time you want to go get them. Now's the time you want to go get that 5-pound bag of rice or 10-pound bag of rice because it's available. It's there. It's on the shelves. Beans. Oh my gosh. Beans are abundant right now. And all of our like good ethnic folk, we like our black eyed peas, right? At the beginning of the year. We cook them for New Year's Eve so that we can eat them for New Year's dinner. And I have been so tardy to the party, plenty of years. And I go to get my black eyed peas and I'll go like around second week of December or something like that if I'm pushing it. And then that's when you don't see no black eyed peas on the shelf or the grocers have gotten clever and that's when the price of the black eyed peas go up, right? So right now, those things are available. I was in the store the other day, black eyed peas was like $1.99 bag. Like now's the time to grab them. And like I said, you don't have to think doomsday prep like, oh, I need to go grab all of I grab 5 bags of beans today. Like if your budget is a little bit, stretched in the first place, all you need to do is grab an extra bag of this and an extra bag of that as you go. In the dry pantry, we also have various pastas, right? Because with the winter time, sometimes you want to make some spaghetti, sometimes you want to make some Alfredo, sometimes you want to make a little penne pasta or that Louisiana cream we all like to eat with the chicken. That's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't hear about Louisiana pasta till a couple of years ago. And now I like to buy my little, I think they call them farfalle, the little bow tie pastas. And then you get a sherry wine and heavy cream to make that. And then you put your Cajun seasoning in and your chicken and all of that stuff. But that's a variety pasta. And right now, that's available. You get closer to Thanksgiving, you're going to see that those things come off the shelves because everybody's preparing to make these big meals, right? So like we mid-October right now. Why not save yourself the trouble and get your goods right now? You know what I'm saying? So we got various pastas. You want to make sure you have that in your dry pantry. Tomato sauce and tomato paste. Oh my gosh. The mothers on here know what I'm talking about. Tomato sauce and tomato paste should be a staple in every pantry. And you want to at least keep yourself a couple of cans. So like if you know tonight's the night you're going to make your spaghetti and you're getting your actual sauce for your spaghetti, that you're going to prepare tonight, then why not grab an extra bundle of that to also stock up the pantry, right? Uh-huh. Diced tomatoes. I like to have a variety of diced tomatoes. Sometimes I just like the roasted. Sometimes I just like the petite. Sometimes I like the roasted with garlic and onions. So those are also, oh my God. There's so many things that we make in the season with roast chilies. Also, your toilet tissue and your paper towels. Those are things that you want to have in your dry pantry. Oh, I see everybody's tapping. Hey, Charles. Charles says, evening. Izzy is in the house. She says, hey, FGT family. For those of you tuning in that don't know what FGT is, that is Feel Good Talk. That's the network that we're on. And there's so many wonderful shows to feed your queries. Megan says, hello, everyone. Aunt Debbie loves you guys. We love you too, Aunt Debbie. And Angela says, oh, Angela says, yes, shop now for Thanksgiving. And she's right. She's right. Yeah, you better. Because if not, we don't know what farmers have actually been able to get their turkeys to slaughter. What farmers might have cut down their bird count. I was listening to a podcast about homesteading the other day, and these people that raise chickens, where they normally do about 300 meat chickens, they said that this year they had to bring it all the way down to 100. And these are local farmers that are supplying local markets and stuff. But I noticed a lot of the stores are trying to support local farmers more. So what's going to happen is, where we might have had all the varieties of different turkeys, you got Butterball and Louis Rich, all of that stuff, Bluebird, what is it? Redbird and all of that. Like, we might not have as many of those birds available when Thanksgiving hits. So yeah, like, you want to make sure you get that stuff together now and you put it in your freezer. I have a humble space here that I live in, so I don't have deep freezer. So I have to be very creative with my freezer space, my upright freezer. But I'm able to do that, sufficiently without overboard. Is full of collard greens, and I've been kind of slowly giving packets of them away. I blanched them for the season and I pulled them from the garden and blanched them and put them in the freezer. And the greens keep coming. And then other day, I realized that I'm gonna have an abundance of spinach also. So I'll probably be freezing that and giving some of that away. But yeah, you want to start shopping now for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all years. And so our freezer essentials. And again, some people think about these things and some people don't. Sometimes you don't think about it until you need it. And then you're like, oh, let me go to the grocery store and get this. And, we're very privileged that most of the time it's been there. But again, we might come on times where we're not able to get those things as easily. So in your freezer pantry, you will want to make sure you have your diced onions, diced peppers, diced celery, sliced carrots. Now, sometimes you can go to the freezer section right now. Right now. I know they're there now because ain't nobody really checking for them. But in your freezer section of your grocery, you can go and get your diced onions and all of those things. Us cooks call them the holy trinity of cooking, your celery, your peppers, and your onions. You can go and get that stuff now in the freezer section. But what if you went to the freezer section and it was bare and there weren't any of those diced items for you to just grab a bag of frozen whatever and put in your meal? This is why I'm saying you are going to have to be a little creative. So if you don't see it in the freezer section, you might have to go ahead and go in the produce section and buy you a few onions and get you some Ziploc bags and get you a Sharpie marker. You need a Sharpie if you're going to be putting things away in the freezer because look it in the freezer and then you go to pull it out later and you're like, what is this? Trying to tap some of the ice off of it, and you're like, I don't know what this is. And then you pull it out and you thaw it out, and you're like, oh, this isn't tomato paste. Sharpie marker so that you can label your Ziploc bags. So also, I like to keep sliced carrots in my freezer. I like to keep broccoli florets in my freezer, green beans, and spinach, and kale also. Kale holds very well in the freezer. Charles says, "Yeah, wow, I love collard greens. Send some my way. LOL. Look, I could send you some. I don't know what shape they'll be in when they get there because I don't know about that dry ice packing." But if you come out here, Charles, you're more than welcome to take some collard greens home with you. And I also got some mustard greens that I just planted for the fall season because it's fall crops that are going in right now. So one of our Facebook users wanted to know how to blanch veggies. I've always wanted to do it. So blanching is really simple. The way my grandmother taught me is that you just take a pot of water. You don't put no salt or nothing in it, like you would when you're prepping to boil water to actually cook something. But you get yourself a pot of water, usually a big stock pot, and line it with about this much water. That's about 2.5 to 3 inches over here on my side. And you bring that water up to a boil. And after you've cleaned whatever veggies you're going to blanch, like say if it's collard greens, since we're talking about collard, once they're clean and drained and chopped the way you want them, and most of the moisture is wicked out, you literally just gonna bring that pot of water up to a boil, and then as it's boiling, you'll get to a colander full of the veggies, and you just put it in really quick, like 3 seconds. Maybe I'm over exaggerating. You probably want to have it down in there for like 10 seconds, and then you bring it back up, and you're done. And you let that drain completely, and then you will put it in your Ziploc bags. Get as much of the air out of it as you can. Label it and put it away. That's all blanching is. It's real simple. I used to overthink it too. But yeah, that's all blanching is. Really simple. Um oh, thank you for that question, by the way. I It only says Facebook user, so I don't know your name, but thank you very much for that question. Izzy says, "Hello, Angela." Hey, Angela. Thanks for coming in. Oh, the Facebook user is Kendra Moore. Hey, Kendra. Kendra has a show here on the network, too. Like I said, y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Feel Good Talk page on Facebook and on YouTube because we have a wealth of information. I think y'all had some wonderful authors on this week, Kendra and Izzy did. So tune in, everybody. Really tap into the network because we got folks on here. We got folks that can help you with your love situations, and just beyond what you've been experiencing. We've got money folks on here that teach us about our finances. We've got realtors on here where you can ask them questions. Then we got Chuck that does feel good talk. And then we got Naeem Irev who does Love 101. And he talks a lot about our talk patterns in relationships. So again, everyone, please like, share, and subscribe to Feel Good Talk page. Hey, Angela, I'm glad you're here as well. Izzy says, "I'm getting hungry." I kind of knew everybody would be getting hungry when I would talk about this today, but it's near dinner time, and I'm sure you guys have prepped. And I'm sure when we get off of here, y'all gonna go on ahead and chomp it up. Some people might even be here with their soup right now. Ah. So speaking of hungry and yumminess, another thing that I want to talk about keeping in the freezer is chicken carcasses and turkey carcasses. Yes, I said carcass. And what's funny is, excuse me, I love, 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 love those Costco rotisserie chickens. And you know, they have those rotisserie chickens at Sam's Club, King Supers, Kroger, Safeway. All of the markets have rotisserie chickens. Whole Foods be having rotisserie chickens. And that is like one of my favorite things to get at the beginning of the week. I by my single, but some of you moms know buy the chicken and you have the actual chicken as a dish one night, right? And then you end up with leftovers, especially when you're buying a whole chicken. Those of us who buy whole chickens and know how to cut them, because I know some people only buy cutlets because they don't really know how to cut a chicken. But those of us who buy whole chickens, you end up with a carcass. You usually end up with the back. Some people, me, end up with the thighs left because I don't really like the dark meat of the thigh. It's too greasy for me. But that meat is really, really, really good in casseroles and soups. So I usually end up with the when my rotisserie carcass is done, after I pull off the wing, the leg, I will eat the leg, the dark meat of the leg. The dark meat of the leg is very delicious. But I will usually have, oh look, y'all, there goes Ty. That's my little baby. I will usually have my chicken backs left, my chicken thighs, the neck, and every now and again, if I didn't eat the breast or I didn't eat all the breast, because I usually chop my breasts in half, I'll have breast left over. So what I do, because when I'm eating off of it during the week, I leave the full bird in the bag anyway or in the container. So when I'm done with that, in normally having bones left that you throw away, I take the carcass, whatever meat is left, and actually that what do we call it? Congelified au jus that has dripped from the chicken or whatever that ends up like jelly like in the bag. I take all of that and I put it back in the bag. I condense all the air out of it as much as I can, roll it up, and I put that bag in a Ziploc bag, label it, and I put it in the freezer. I label it chicken Western chili or chicken noodle soup. I got my chicken right there. And I didn't have to go buy I got one right now in the pot as we speak. You're talking about being hungry tonight. I'm making chicken soup. And I'm going to put a little orzo pasta in it because orzo pasta kind of reminds you of rice. That's that little weird one. It works really good in chicken soup, I discovered, and turkey soup. So, like I said, think about how you're going to stretch things. Remember, I talked earlier about taking something, a little bit of something, and then putting it with a lot of bit of something that stretches it and makes a whole new meal. Well, those chicken carcasses, you can use those in your soups because we don't necessarily need to go and buy a whole pack of chicken to put in chicken noodle soup unless your family just likes a lot of meat. But if your family doesn't mind, like, just having that wonderful flavor of the bird in there and some of the scraps of meat, like, it's gonna be a delightful soup and they're not gonna know. They're not gonna pay no attention to the fact that you did not go buy a whole new pack of meat to put in that soup. Now, I know some people's family eat more, more, and there's really like just a carcass left. In that case, those leftovers you're only going to be able to use just as flavoring. But a lot of times what I've seen is there be some extra meat on that on what do is when it's time to cook your soup, you pull a pad out the freezer, get some of your onions that you froze because you were prepared for the season and some of your peppers or whatever you like to put in there, and you start your stock, right? Start it in the pot, and then once you got your onions opened up, then you'll take that chicken carcass, add some water and throw that in, and you'll let it simmer. And you let it simmer until the meat falls off the bones, and then once the meat falls off the bones, you take that pot down, turn the temperature off, and then just let it cool down. And you'll take all of the bones out of there, all of the skin, and leave the meat, right? And then you got your soup base. Then you can build it however you want it. You can go whichever way you want. Once you start it that way, you can go chili, southwestern chili. You can go a minestrone, like a chicken minestrone. You can go chicken noodle soup. You can even go to a casserole, right? Like, oh, we're gonna make chicken a la king if you reduce it down enough. So yeah, make sure you don't throw out those carcasses, folks, because them carcasses come in handy. And like I said, condense them down as much as you can, and then put it in the freezer and have it for later. Excuse my tie tie. She's over here bathing for the camera. Ah, also, another good thing to have in our freezer pantry is beef tips. Y'all remember beef tips and gravy? hmm I know a lot of people out there don't eat beef no more, but I still do. I'm a vegetarian. I eat a little bit of everything. So, what I want to ask all of you out there are, what are some of the things that I mentioned that are on the dry pantry list that you had not thought about? What are some of the things in the freezer pantry list that you had not thought about? And what are some of the things that's on your list that I haven't thought about that you think I should add to my list? Because I'm here to learn too. Going back to my comments now. Oh, Kendra said yes, she'll do that when it comes to she talking about the blanching. Girl, you're welcome. Learn that blanching it collapses the veggies down a little bit more too. And you can do that with broccoli, you can do it with cauliflower, you can do it with carrots. So like I was saying, if you've got to go and grab some fresh veggies to freeze, like carrots, green beans, collard greens, kale, stuff like that, you'll want to blanch those things before you put them in the freezer. And if you don't, it's going to be okay too. It's just that when you blanch something, it's almost like putting a time capsule around the food so that it really preserves the taste. And you won't get freezer burn as easy. What happens when we don't blanch is sometimes if something been in there for like 6 months, you go to pull it out and put it in something and you kind of can taste the freezer in it from freezer burn. Blanching saves you from that. So again, I'd like to know what things do y'all have in your pantry, in your freezer pantry, your cabinet pantry that I might not have on my list. Also, I have on the list chicken cutlets. That's a good one. That's a good one. Ground chicken, turkey, or beef. And for all of you who have the children who don't like to eat the healthy food, but they need they nuggets, we got dino nuggets. You want to put dino nuggets in your freezer because you know you're going to have them nights when you come home and you don't want to make no casserole. You ain't put nothing in no crock pot. And them kids is like, we want nuggets. Out, get some fries, hook it on. That's how you keep a good pantry. Now, if you have local farms near you, there are options to reach out to your local farmers and they'll let you split a cow. And when I first heard about that, I was like, split a cow? How am I going to split a cow? I don't know how to cut no cow up. Split a pig? I don't know how to cut no pig up. Well, come to find out, you just pick your animal. They give you a price list and they let you know what animals are available because a lot of farmers are meat farmers and they're just raising their meat to sell to you or to the store. And when we can cut out the store, we're cutting out the middleman. So we can actually make a little bit of money. I know people who have purchased the cow and split that cow with four different families to where it's like, you get the tri-tip, you get, this person gets a shoulder, everybody there, it's a full cow. So you're going to have two and fours of everything, right? You're going to have your rib roast, you're going to have your ribs, then you're going to have your steaks, your different cuts of steaks. Like you can get all of that if you split a cow. Again, a cow is a huge animal, so you need some other people to go in with you. But those things come already wrapped up, labeled, so that you know exactly what cut of meat it is and you can throw it straight in your freezer. And like I said, I've known a full cow to be split between families. And I think the last time I checked the cow, it was like $700 or $800. And it sounds like a lot, but when you think about four families not having to go to the grocery store for beef for like 6 months, like four families, $800, that's 200 a piece. And the price probably done went up a little bit now because we got inflation, but still, like that's that's kind of cheap to be able to feed your family beef for 6 months to a year, and it's in your freezer ready to go, pre-packed. You didn't have to butcher it or nothing. and you didn't have to go to the store, and it's probably grass-fed organic because the farmer that you're gonna get it from is local, and you know them, and you know what type of treatment they are treating their animals with. Because some of these large mass producing factories, I'm not gonna say no names, but they're not letting their chickens roam the range. They're not letting their cows roam the range. They're not letting their pigs roam the range. Some of these places are keeping these animals in inhumane ways, and we are what we eat. So if we're having a bunch of anxiety and inflammation and different things show up in our bodies, that can be coming from the animal that we choosing to put in our systems. And we just don't get to see that nasty, gory side of it, because we're not the farmers. I've been looking into homesteading and I'm farm to have no animals, no animables, because I cannot process meat. I can't imagine myself wringing a chicken's neck, nor plucking its feathers out, nor you. I didn't know. I learned that the other day. It's like some sort of boiling cauldron that after you pluck the chicken, you kill it and you pluck it, you gotta like dip it in this hot cauldron really quick, I guess to like sterilize it or something, child. I wouldn't be able to do that. I can't even stand to hear no lobster screaming while it's being cooked. I have never cooked the lobster because I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's screaming. It's screaming. So yeah, we know that I'm not cut out for homesteading and farming in that way, but I could farm some vegetables. Charles says chicken noodle soup, another one of my favorites. Yes, that's what I'm doing tonight. Some chicken noodle soup because it's cooling down out here in Colorado. My feelings are hurt. I need to move. I need to move to a warmer climate where I can grow vegetables all year and where I don't have to see no snow. Oh, Angela says I like to make sure to keep dry milk on hand during the winter months as well. It's great for baking or when you are in a clutch getting to the grocery store during the winter. That is a good one, Angela. I hadn't thought about dry milk. I haven't even like I don't even know what dry milk look like in the stove. That's funny. I have never I guess that's probably the dry carnation milk. Funny side story. I grew up in actually used to receive government rations of that government cheese and that government butter and that dry milk. And because of that, I have never even wanted to figure out where the dry milk would be found at the grocery store because that milk was so nasty. And sometimes my mom would mix a batch of it up and keep it in the fridge for our cereal because we were just that poor. So it was like, oh, you better drink that milk, put it on your cereal and hush. You want some cereal, don't you? But yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you for that, Angela. Izzy, Izzy said, Dino nuggets. I love you. Yeah, them babies, girl, them babies go crazy over them dino nuggets. It's funny because I love to cook and I'm always trying these new dishes and stuff. And sometimes I'll take them to my girlfriend's house that have kids or whatever. And I'm like, well, did the kids like it? And they be like, girl, them kids didn't eat none of that casserole. They don't want nothing but nuggets. And I can appreciate that parents actually make those like amendments for their children because when we were growing up, they didn't care nothing about what we did and did not like. Whatever mama cooked was what you was eating. And if it was liver and onions, by golly, you having liver and onions for dinner. I remember I thought that liver was steak for quite some time growing up until well, I should say growing up. I thought that liver was steak for quite some time because my mama, honey, my mama could make some liver. I don't know if it was that we were just poor and she knew how to make things taste good, But that liver tasted like steak when she got done. And I ate it until she told me what it was. Then once she told me what it was, we were in trouble. We had the same predicament with lamb. I remember I was mortified when I found out that we had been eating lamb chops for dinner. Grandma would say, "Oh, I'm making some chops tonight." And she would make the mint glaze and stuff like that to go with it, but I didn't think nothing of it until somebody, sitting there at the table going, "Ooh, this is a good lamb." Every once in a while we'd be able to afford some good meat, and grandma would make lamb. And I was like, "We eating what? Wait a minute." So we got Mary who had a little lamb. We got little Bo Peep who lost her sheep. And then we got lamb chopping friends, and you're making me eat lamb. I freaked out. I didn't want lamb no more. I didn't eat lamb again until I was an adult. And now I'm sorry. Ah. Oh, Charles fixed this typo. He said, "Oh, that cat's adorable." He talking about my baby. Yeah, that's typo. Frozen fruit. Yes, Charles, frozen fruit. I'm glad you said that because I forgot to put that on my list. So another thing that I like to do in like the spring and summer is when my fruits start going too ripe, I keep a random bag of fruit in my freezer, a random Ziploc bag where I put all of like my fruit that tends to go ripe too quickly or I don't get to it quick enough. Bananas are really good for that, right? Like you could buy bananas and you buy them green, and the next thing you know, 3 days later they're black, and it's like, oh my god. So I keep a Ziploc bag in my freezer that is just dedicated to any fruit that goes ripe before I can eat it. That means blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. Sometimes I've had to dice up like a peach or a nectarine and throw in that bag. And when you think about it, like the time to eat fresh fruit is when it's in season, right? But what if you're in the middle of the winter and you come home one night from work and you're like, I don't feel like eating. I don't feel like cooking for those of us who don't have families to feed. Sometimes you make a smoothie for dinner and that's it. Well, if you keep a random bag of fruit, frozen fruit in your freezer that you didn't have to go to the store and pay $9 for, because that was my motivation for starting to save my overripened fruit. Because before I would just be throwing stuff. The bananas are too ripe, throw them out. The fast, throw them out. Pears, throw it, especially pears. Pears will go bad on you real quick. So I just take the pear once I've washed it and I dice it and take the core out. I cut it into strips just like I would if I was about to eat it for a snack. And I throw it of fruit medley that I've made for myself. And you would be surprised how delicious it tastes when you're making your smoothie. And you can still the fruit isn't so broken down that you can't tell what it is when you open the bag. Every now and again, it will make the open it up out the freezer and chip away a little bit of it. But child, you take you some of that frozen fruit and throw in the blender with whatever base you like. Some people like apple juice, some people like different types of milks or whatever. Some people just will use water for their smoothies. I know a lot of diabetics um, can't do too much ripe fruit because of the sugar content in it. So their doctors have recommended instead of using like a um, fruit juice base to use just water because the fruit will be sweet enough. But yeah, you throw some of that in the blender with some ice and whatever protein powder you have and some psyllium seed husk. Let me tell y'all, that's another thing to add to your list for your dry pantry. Psyllium seed husk. That's Psyllium. It looks like it's psyllium, but it's psyllium seed husk. And that is like an exfoliant for our intestines. So if you add just like 2 teaspoons of that to your smoothie when you put it in the blender, it expands in your stomach and in your intestines just like chia seeds do. And what happens is it exfoliates your intestinal walls and it takes off like years of built on food product that be up in there. So like a lot of you who are having difficulties getting a flat tummy, water in the morning and put 2 teaspoons of it in a cup of water, whisk it up and drink it. Now as soon as it hits a liquid, it it congeals. So bear that in mind. Like sometimes I have taken it and put it in my lemonade in the morning because I don't mind pulp anyway. So I'll put it in my lemonade and then I'll put some of my lavender lemon collagen powder in there and shake it up with some ice and drink that as my morning like regimen or whatever. But the longer that it sits, the more congealed it gets. It will even almost turn to like pudding if you put too much in there. So bear that in mind. But yeah, put some psyllium seed husk in your pantry because that is a good item to add to your smoothies to help you exfoliate and cleanse out the system. And what happens is it expands in there and it grabs everything. And then, not to get gross, but it helps to compact your fecal matter so that it comes out in one piece in the morning. And let me tell you, the first couple of times you do it, you're going to look back there and you're going to be like, did I just have a baby? But the more you do it, the flatter your tummy will get because it actually starts pulling everything out that you have put in your system for years and just forgot about. So just FYI. Charles is Kendra again. She says, to avoid throwing away food, I freeze overripe bananas for smoothies, pancakes, and banana bread. I just learned to make raspberry compote for that same reason. Yeah, because raspberries go bad fast, don't they, Kendra? Ooh, I be so mad. And they cost so much. Thank God I got a raspberry bush in my garden. I'm cultivating. My mom has raspberry bushes at her house too that we're working on. But yeah, raspberries go bad fast, and I do find myself before they start getting that mold on them, hurrying up and throwing them in my fruit bag. Um, and then what you said also, Kendra, about the bananas. If you like fudge sickles and you don't want to buy them from the store, bananas, cashews, vanilla extract, and cacao powder. The recipe, and I'll post it on the World of Cali Soul page when we get off of here today. But it is, you take 3 ripe bananas, 1 cup of cashews, raw, unsalted. You soak the cashews overnight in water so that get the nut to open up. You drain all the water off of that, and you put that in your food processor with 3 bananas, your drained, soaked cashews, 3 tablespoons of cacao powder, and a half a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And you put it in the food processor and let it whip up until it turns into a ganache. That is your gluten free, dairy free fudgesicle. You pour that mixture, that ganache mixture, into your popsicle molds, and you got fudgesicles. Delicious. Better than jello pudding pop fudgesicles, might I so. They're delicious, and the kids love them, and they don't know that it's not ice cream. They will tear them things up. When the kids come over my house, I pull them right out the freezer and give them to them. Oh, we love this. Uh-huh. A good old healthy fudge sickle for you. Angela, Natural Grocers. It's great. I believe she's talking about the psyllium seed husk. Yes, thank you, Angela. You can buy psyllium seed husk at Natural Grocers, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sprouts, mainly your natural grocer stores. That's where you can find psyllium seed husk. I've never seen it in like my regular supermarket, but I be in all types of markets. I go to farmers markets. I go to the natural grocery stores. I also like to go to farms. They have a lot of our local farms out here. They will charge you a fee to come in and fill up a box, and you can get whatever you want that's out there on the farm as long as you pick it. It's kind of like that drag pull or tow thing that the car lots used to do. Like, we'll come pick it up. Yeah, we, the consumers, can go out to these local farms, and usually you'll see them if you drive out into the rural areas. Like a lot of the farms out here out north, they have these big signs that'll say, "Hey, picking day is such and such, and $25 for a box, $15 for a bag." And you'd be surprised how much stuff you can fit in them bags. And let me tell you, it makes a big difference in the budget. Because I'm sure some of y'all have left the grocery store recently with $200 worth of groceries, and you're like, what did I get? And I forgot some things that was on my list. $200. Ridiculous. Izzy says, I loved liver, onions, and gravy back in the day. Yeah. Onions, liver, and gravy was the bomb. I don't eat it anymore just because I understand, like, organ meat is not good for us. But trust and believe, back in the day, honey, to love me some liver and onions. I remember when I was living in my own place, I was maybe about 22 years old, and I called my mom, and I'm like, "Mom, will you make me some liver and onions?" And she was like, "Are you pregnant?" And I'm like, "No, Mom, I'm not pregnant. I just wanted some of her liver and onions, and she made it for me. And like I said, honey, she knew how to make it. It tastes like steak." Oh. Oh, so Kendra says, thank you so much, Kendra. Kendra says, thank you for the great info. I'm going to have to rewatch this and take notes, right? Sorry I talk too fast, y'all. Sometimes I just get the rambling and might not be giving you might not be giving you enough time to take notes. But you can go back and watch it again, take notes, and please, please, please share this video with your friends, because that's how we grow as a network, and that's what this is about here on Feel Good Talk. We are family. So any videos that you come across, please share them, especially when you know they got good information that folks are going to need to be able to use. And this episode here is an episode I definitely recommend that you share, because we're all dropping nuggets of wisdom in here. Not dino nuggets, but nuggets for everybody to take. Sandra Robinson, hey, that's my mommy. Hey, mom. Mom said, wow, I didn't know they had such a thing where you could go and buy from the farmers like that. Yeah, mom, you sure can. Like I said, especially out north. And there's a lot of cherry farmers out here and strawberry farmers. Like they don't want to have to pay their agra people to come and pick things, like that's free labor for them if you think about it, because they're like, these people want vegetables, they want food. They're gonna come out here with their own bags and baskets and stuff, and they can pick their food and then they can pay us. And it makes it easy on them. And that way there's only a certain amount left for their agra to actually have to finish picking. It's a win-win for everybody. Mimu. I don't know who Mimu is. I would have thought it was my mom because we call my mom Mima. But Mimu says sexy. They probably talking about my shoulders. Thank you, sweetheart. So another thing that you might want to think about splitting, and I know people might not have thought about this, is toilet tissue and paper towels, right? Because if I go to the grocery store as an individual right now to buy like 6 rolls of toilet tissue, maybe 12, because like I said, my little pantry space is very humble. It'd be like $10, $15 for some toilet tissue. And it's like, whoa. But if you go to Sam's Club, some of those same tissues are available where they got like 40 rolls and it's only $30. So if you do the math, it's like, okay, let me get mine out in my pantry. And you split it with your girlfriends, like folks used to do this back in the day to survive. Even like those big old 20-pound bags of rice that they have at Costco. Like, if you're like, whoa, 20 pounds is too big for me. Yeah, it might be. Like, if your sister, your brother live in the same town, you got some girlfriends or whatever, we all got our cute little canisters that we put our rice in anyway. So why not buy the big bag and say, hey, everybody, let's split this bag of rice, so that everybody can get their fill. Nothing wrong with that. Or if you're like me, Mom, you put the whole 20-pound bag of rice in your pantry because you're gonna need it. Again, those are just some things that we want to make sure we have to prepare us for the winter and prepare us for the possibility of a food shortage. It might not happen, but even regardless, if a food shortage doesn't happen, how much easier can our lives be to just be prepared so that we have everything that we need? Like the soup that I made today, I haven't even left the house today. The soup that I made today has chicken, celery, onions, carrots, broccoli, green beans, and I'm about to go put some potatoes in it to finish it. I didn't have to leave the house for none of that stuff. Most of the stuff came out of the freezer. The only thing that did not come from the freezer was the celery because I keep celery in my vegetable bin. But celery, by the way, is also one of those things that you could put it in your vegetable bin and forget about it, right? Because not everybody likes to chop it up and eat it with hummus and peanut butter and stuff. Some people just like it for, an additive to food, right? And it's not something that sits in there and it starts to grow and change into something else. So, like, instead of letting that happen, dice that celery up and put it in the freezer and save it for when you do need it. But like I said, the only thing in my soup today that came fresh, not from the freezer, is the celery and the potatoes. Everything else was in the freezer. And as long as you know how to build a soup, soup building skills are very important because if you don't know how to build a soup, your soup turns to mush and it's not as good. So you've got to think as you're putting things in, like, okay, celery takes the longest to break down. So that's why we open it up in the pan with the oil. The onions, the same. Peppers take a long time to break down. Um, so we put those in the beginning. Carrots break down slow, right? Um, Pasta does not break down slow. Rice does not break down slow. So that's why those things you put in your soups last. Beans take forever to cook, right? So those go in first. But as long as you know how to build you a soup or build your casserole, you'll be cooking with hot grease. Hmm. So, if we don't have any more questions or any more suggestions to the list, I just want to remind you to prepare yourself now. Like I said, a lot of those things that we like to have in our winter pantry are available right now at the store. So you can go and you can start gathering those kits. You'll wash and freeze bean sprouts. Yes, Mom, you can wash and freeze bean sprouts. Bean sprouts go bad really quick. I think my mom is over there making stir fry. You over there making stir fry, Mama? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be over to get some of that. I know that's why you have bean sprouts over there. But yes, bean sprouts break down very fast, fresh. So what you'll want to do as soon as you get them, take what you need out to make your fresh dish, give them a good rinsing, make sure that they dry completely because bean sprouts naturally have an amount of water in them that will come out when you freeze them. So you want to make sure, like if you got a salad spinner that wicks off the water from your veggies, you want to put those in the salad spinner and get all the moisture out that you can, and then put them in a Ziploc bag, get all of the air out of that bag, and then put it in another bag after that and get all the air out of that bag. My bean sprouts and alfalfa sprouts, I put those in double bags because if not, they will tend to get freezer burnt. And what happens is when you bring them out, there are some things that when you bring out the freezer, you can just throw it in a soup. But there's other things that when you bring out, like if you want to still be able to cook a fresh dish, let's say, with your bean sprouts, like you want to bring the bean sprouts out the freezer and be able to make a stir fry. How you're going to bring those out is put them in a to maintain the structure of the vegetable as it thaws. Same thing with like your broccoli and stuff. Like if you're trying to bring that out to put it in a fresh dish, contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of people think like, oh gosh, once it's frozen and you thaw it out, it's going to turn to mush. No, anything, almost anything. There's a few things that you can't, right? But almost anything that you want to use from your freezer in a fresh dish, when you bring it out, you put it in cold water and let it thaw out that way, and then it will still have some of its firmness. So like broccoli, cauliflower, peas, green peas. I don't eat green peas, but green peas. If you bring green peas out the freezer to put in a fresh dish, put them in cold water and let them thaw out that way, and the peas will still be al dente. They'll still have body to them, right? Amazing fact. Anyhow, I am so glad that you all have tuned in today to this show. Please like, share, and subscribe. If I have shared anything that is worth sharing to you, I'd appreciate it if you give us a share. And please feel free to reach out to me on social media. I am Calysōl Official on all media platforms. That's Calysōl_official. And then I also have a secondary Instagram page, which is World of Calysōl. So hit me up on any of the platforms if you have any questions or if you have any show suggestions that you would like me to cover. I would be more than happy to take your questions. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This has been another episode of That's So Calysōl. I'll catch you next time. Peace.